Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English. This is Mukesh Soni. Friends, let's have a discussion of an important poem titled Don't Look into the Vanity Bag by Vaidehi. And this poem is prescribed for the first semester BA Generic English under Bangalore University and Bangalore North University. And in this video, we shall have the discussion for the 4 marks, 2 marks and the 5 marks questions with reference to the textbook. So let's begin the discussion. 2 marks questions. Question number 1. What does the vanity bag contain? The vanity bag contains mirror, comb, kajal box, pen, powder, clip, performance, white paper, and many more things. Does the vanity bag act as a symbol of vanity of a woman or a woman's inner self? Yes, it symbolizes both. Does every woman carry a vanity bag? Yes, many women carry a vanity bag. What does the content of the bag indicate? A woman can have anything in a vanity bag. The vanity bag sets out to investigate the delicate cords that weave the woman's life, which is obviously a metaphor for the woman's thinking. Then, question number 5. The bag represents the complex nature of the honor. That's a choice, that's the answer. What makes a woman disguise her true self? A woman disguises her true self to hide her emotions. Why does she do? To hide her emotions. What does the handkerchief suggest? On many occasions, women hide their mouth with a handkerchief in order to hide their expressions of grief or astonishment. Question number 8. Why is the woman addressed to men? It's a caution to men not to try and understand a woman's mind. So why is the poem addressed to men? Because the poem is a kind of a caution to men that don't try to understand a woman's mind. Next question we have next question we have here. Just a minute. Yeah. Next question we have. The poet wants to prove the inability of men to understand women. Yes, that's true. 5 marks questions. Trace the different stages of womanhood as presented in the poem. Friends, I have already done the video of summary on this poem, so you can also go through the link of the summary in the description box. Trace the different stages of womanhood as presented in the poem. The poem, Don't Look into the Vanity Bag, remarkably portrays the different stages of womanhood. It begins with innocence, symbolized by childhood, where the vanity bag holds simple treasures. As the verses progress, as the poem progresses, it unfolds the teenage years marked by curiosity, and the bag becomes a repository of dreams and aspirations, a kind of against a treasure house of dreams and aspirations. The journey continues into adulthood, reflecting the bag's transformation into a vessel of responsibilities and societal expectations. Finally, in the later stages, the bag carries the weight of experiences, memories, and the wisdom gained over the years. Hence, the poem Don't Look into the Vanity Bag serves as a powerful metaphor. It captures the evolving identity of a woman, mirroring the stages of her life. From innocence to maturity, each item in the bag represents a facet of a journey, making the vanity bag a profound symbol of the multidimensional nature of womanhood. So, this is the journey of a woman, which is indicated by the metaphor vanity bag. Do you think men cannot understand women, or is it a misconception? Discuss. There are some occasions when men try to understand the nature of women, but they may not be able to understand fully. Generally, men will find it very difficult to understand women, and it's not a complete misconception. When a mouse digs into the bag of woman, he fails to understand why she has so many things in a bag. Just a minute. Even if he questions, he will not be able to find an answer to it. He will be surprised to note why she has all relevant and irrelevant objects. In spite of it, he goes to question her. He will never find a suitable answer to this question. When he's not able to understand such a simple thing, that how is it possible for him to understand her nature, woman behaves in a very strange manner of many times. So men must be very much careful about it. How does vanity bag become a symbol of metaphor? How does vanity bag become a metaphor in this poem? Simile means an object which is compared to other things, but metaphor means an object which becomes the other object only. It means to say there's a direct comparison. In this poem, don't look into the vanity bag. A woman takes pride in a possession, appearance, or achievement. So, the moment a woman possesses a vanity bag, it means she will also take pride in her emotions and abstract qualities. Carrying a vanity bag, she also carries her pride along. Wherever she goes, she has her vanity bag. She has so many things in it, and she may not use all of them at all. In spite of it, she has it. In the same way, she represents herself outwardly. She's a house of complex qualities. Then are many times when she will not be able to understand her own self. So, vanity bag is equivalent to her emotions and her complex nature, just as it is difficult to separate her from her vanity bag, so also it is difficult to separate her from her emotions. Question number 4. How does the poem trace the journey of a woman from innocence to maturity? Generally, from the stage of childhood, a girl has a habit of hoarding many things. She doesn't throw away all the articles as the boys do. She would have developed a kind of admiration towards it, a kind of possession gets developed. As and when she grows, it would be very difficult for her to get over it. So do continues with it. Her vanity bag or any bag she carries has many things in it. The nature of things can change as and when she grows up. Her possessions change. Her taste also changes. The things that she has in a bag also changes. But a woman is always going to have the sum of the small things for a long time. In the stage of her youth, she will have mirror, comb, clip, kajal box, perfume, a spool of thread, buttons, a needle, a supari chana leaves, a flower, bindi sticker, and all these things could be her memories also. So when she was a child, she had peacock feather, sand, and many other things that children have. When she becomes a woman, she might have a half written poem, a handkerchief to cover her mouth at times, some handwritten papers, a nameless photo of a man could be her lover or so. Once a woman passes this stage, she carries memories of her childhood, youth, old age, and her own different responsibilities inside the bag. A man cannot understand all these and the emotional connectivity. Hence, the poem traces the journey of a woman from innocence to maturity. So, friends, this is how I have tried to solve the questions from the famous poem Don't Look Into My Vanity Bag by Vaidehi. And if you like this video, click on the like button, write in the comment box, and also go through the description box for all the videos of your first semester BA, including all the lessons, grammar, last year's question papers. Just have a glance in the description box or the playlist on my channel. If you are not yet subscribed the channel, please do subscribe the channel. A lot of things are in the queue. Thank you so much. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and this is Mukesh Soni. In this video, we shall have the discussion of the important questions of a famous story, The X, written by the famous writer R.K. Narayan, and this story is prescribed for the first semester BA Generic English, Bangalore University and Bangalore, North University, and this video is based on the 2 marks and 5 marks questions with reference to the textbook. Now, the 2 marks questions from the story The Axe. What did the astrologer say about Velen? An astrologer passing through the village foretold that Velen lived in a three-storied house surrounded by many acres of land. So many acres of garden. So what was the forecast? That this boy, Velen, will live in a three-storied house which will be surrounded by many acres of garden. Why was Valen's father angry with him? Valen's father was very much angry because he came late to home for the midday meal and he was slapped. Valen's father slapped his face one day for coming late with the midday meal. So he was so angry. He was very much angry due to this. What difficulties did Valen face during his journey to Malgudi? Valen starved for a couple of days. He begged wherever he could and he arrived in Malgudi. So he didn't have food for 2 days, for a couple of days. He also begged as well as if he was able to do. And finally, he reached Malgudi. How did Velen take care of the plants? Velen heaped manure, aired the roots, trimmed the branches, and watered the plants twice a day. What is the name of the palatial house or palatial house? Palatial house give details that made the house acquire an imposing appearance. The palace was named as Kumar Bog, or in Hindi we say Kumar Bagh. The house proudly held up a dome. Balconies with intricately carved woodwork hung down from the sides of the houses, smooth, rounded pillars, deep verandas, checkered marble floors, spacious halls, ranged one behind another, gave the house such an imposing appearance. Kumar Bagh was the name of the palace. Mention the occasions on which Velen would go to the village to spend time with his family. So he used to go on Pongal, New Year, Deepavali. So these were the occasions he used to go to his village to spend some time with his family. Why was Velen worried when the master of the house passed away? Velen was worried when the master of the house passed away because he might lose a job. He was afraid that he might lose a job. After a few days, few years, the house came to be known as Ghost House. What did the company which bought the house decided to do? The company would like to build small houses on this particular house by cutting the plants. What request did Velen make with the tree cutters while leaving the house? Velen requested the tree cutters not to cut the tree in his presence as he nurtured them more than his children. He says that, please allow me to go from here. At least in front of me, don't cut the trees. So these are the extra questions from now onwards. How much did Velen's father earn in a week? Velen's father earned a few annas in a week. Velen starved for a couple of days. Where did he arrive at last? He arrived in Malgudi at last. What work was assigned to Velen by the old man? The old man assigned Velen the work of destroying the weed. Name some of the summer flowers that grew in the garden. The summer flowers that grew in the garden were hibiscus, very difficult to pronounce, cherries, anthemum, jasmine, roses, and canna. Why was Velen proud of his position? Velen was proud of his position because he was a chief gardener with an excellent garden. What was the reaction of the people after the prediction of the astrologer? The people made fun of Velen after the prediction of the astrologer because they thought it impossible for Velen to own a big house. What had Velen's father done? Velen's father had mortgaged every bit of his property he had. Which were the flowers that were grown by Velen in the front part of the Kumar Bog? So again, hibiscus, jasmine, roses, canna. So these were the flowers. Then, on which occasions he used to go to his ancestral village, Pongal, New Year, or Deepavali? Then, what was the main business of Velen when he was serving as a gardener? And his business was to destroy all the weeds where the garden had to be planted. Why did Velen have to shift his residence to the front veranda of the mansion? Velen had to shift his residence to the front veranda of the mansion because his hut was leaking and he could not repair it. After a few years, why did the house acquire the name of haunted house? Because nobody came, the house was abandoned and nobody came to visit it, so it acquired the name of haunted house or ghost house, Bhoot Bangla. Now, the 5 marks questions. How did Velen turn the weed covered land into a real beautiful garden? When Velen was 18, he left home. His father slapped him one day for coming late with the midday meal. This enraged Valen. He became so angry that he decided to leave home. He walked out of the village and walked on till he came to the town. Here he starved for a couple of days. Then he finally came to Malgudi. Here an old man took him as his assistant for laying a garden. Velen accepted the job and sat day after day in the sun to clear the land of the unwanted plants. Gradually, the garden took shape. As the house came up, the garden also developed. By the time the Margosa tree came up to the vision of Velen, the house had taken mellowness in its appearance, its original brightness had disappeared. Question number 2. Comment on the appearance of palatial house Kumar Bog. How did Velen react to the imposing appearance of the house? The palatial house proudly held up a dome, balconies with intricately carved woodwork hung down from the sides of the houses, smooth rounded pillars, deep verandas, checkered marble floors, and spacious halls ranged one behind another gave the house such an imposing appearance that Velen asked himself that can any mortal live in this? He thought such mansion existed only in the Swarga Loka. When he saw the kitchen and the dining room, he said, why our whole village could be accommodated in this eating place alone? Next question. What are the changes seen in the house and its inmates by the time of Margosa plant grew to a magnificent tree? When the Margosa tree approximately came up to the house had acquired a mellowness in its appearance. Successive summers, the following summers, monsoons, had robbed the paint on the doors and the windows. Subsequently, the house had lost its shine and looked bleak. The frequent rains on the house made it lose its colors and looked faded. Doors, windows, woodworks were eaten by the termites and lost its shade. Slowly, the house was losing its shine. Even there was a change in the attitude of the masters, where the old man was restricted to bed and never used to come out. Why did Llewellyn feel miserable when the tenants began living in the house? After the death of his old master, the sons of the master visited the house once in a while. The house had lost its shine, and the paint of the building started fading, making it look older. Later, the new owners of the house started renting it to the tenants. Sorry, not more than a month, any tenant would stay there. The paint was ruining, and the plaster of the building was falling while the termites were eating the cupboards and the shelves. On the whole, the house started to get a haunted look, where later it assumed the name of the ghost house. Describe the behavior of the people who represented the company to which the house was sold. The people who represented the company had different attitude. They wanted each piece of the land converted into a plot. They had no interest in the house or the garden. Rather than admiring the scenic beauty of the garden, they saw only the commercial benefit from it. The company represented the business attitude, whereas Whelan was representing an innocent face who showered love towards the plants and also loved his profession. In reality, the garden is Whelan's whole world. He knows no other life. How did Whelan react when he saw men cutting down the old Margosa tree? Whelan was requesting with the woodcutters not to cut the Margosa tree because he looked after the tree and the plants in the garden more than his children. So Whelan spent most of his time looking after them and nurtured them well. Whelan used to talk to each plant and flowers, urging them on its growth. Whelan's complete world is dedicated or devoted to the garden. In many ways, the growth of the garden and the blooming of the flowers matches the prosperity and the happiness in Whelan's life. He has taken a patch of land, changed what was an eyesore into a thing of beauty. In reality, the garden is Whelan's whole world. He knows no other life. All the efforts he has put in over the years will go in vain. So this is how he reacted. Draw a character sketch of Whelan. Whelan, the protagonist of the story, is a very self-respecting person. He leaves the village because his father slapped him before other people. He's very honest and dedicated to his job. He does his job with the same dedication even after the death of the gardener and when nobody was there to supervise his work. He's highly attached to his garden, especially the Margosa tree, which he raised with great care. He cannot bear the thought of the garden, especially Margosa tree, being cut before his eyes. So he requests the workman when he has left the place, please let me go. Don't cut the trees in front of me. Comment the significance of the title, The X, the story The X. The X is a story of a boy named Whelan who left his home when he was 18 years old because his father slapped him in front of the village people because he came late for the lunch, for the meal, midday meal. He reaches Malgudi where a gardener puts him as his assistant. When he was a child, an astrologer had predicted about him that he would live in a three-storied house, but people made a fun of him. He assisted the old gardener in his idea of a big garden. It was a very big garden in acres of land, and a big house too was being built. Finally, a three-storied house was surrounded by a big garden was ready. In the meantime, Gardner had suddenly fallen ill and he becomes the chief gardener. He enjoys his position and looks after the garden. He was happy and contented with his life. The owner of the house was weak and leaned on the staff, and his wife was an invalid. One day, he came to know that the owner of the house had passed away. The sons were not good. They quarreled among themselves and began to live in another house. A tenant settled in the house, but he had no regard for the gardener, for the garden, and spoiled the plants. But his fortune favored him. The tenant leaves the home, and the house is left abandoned. The sons came occasionally to check the house. They left the key of the house with him. It remained unoccupied for a very long time and began to be called a ghost house. He had become old by now. Since his hut was leaking, he began to live in the front veranda. Occasionally, he opened the house and swept it, but since he had become weak, he left it altogether. One day, a party comes, carefully examines the house, and leaves. Very soon, one of the sons tells him to leave the house because the house was sold to a company and they will pull down the house and rage the garden. Whelan had to retire to his old hut. He should go back to his old house. The house began to be pulled down and started felling of the trees. One day he saw his beloved Margosa trees being cut. He planted this tree with his hands. He requested the woodcutters, the workers, not to cut the tree, but they said it was company's order. Then he decides to leave the place and requests the workers to cut the trees when he has gone far away. He says that don't cut the trees in front of me. I have nurtured them for my whole life, so let me go. Then you cut the trees. So hence the title X is the most appropriate, subtle, and the apt title. We can also say that the story X gives a vivid picture of a society which is in process of transition and its impact on the people. Change is inevitable, but it can cause deep sorrow to many people. Wellen belongs to the old order of life, suffers deeply when the house with its beautiful garden is sold to a company which is interested only in material value, wants to use the plot to construct many small houses. Hence, the transition from the old order to the new order is not always smooth. It can be traumatic as well. So change is not always acceptable. So, friends, this is how I had tried to solve the questions of the famous story, The X by R.K. Narayan. For the summary of this video of this story, you can see in the description box all the videos links you can find. And please click on the like button if you like the video, write in the comment box, and subscribe the channel if you're not yet subscribed the channel. Mail me if you have any questions. You can mail me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Thank you so much. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English. This is Mukesh Soni. Friends, in this video we shall have the discussion of the important questions of the famous lesson After 20 Years written by O. Henry, and this lesson is prescribed for the first semester BA Generic English and the Bangalore University and Bangalore North University. So let's have the discussion of the important questions from After 20 Years important lesson. 2 marks questions. Was the policeman performing his duty properly? Yes, the policeman was performing his duty properly. Many people watched the policeman in the night. It's a false statement. What did the man in the doorway tell the policeman? He was waiting for a friend whom he had an appointment after 20 years. How did Bob describe Jimmy? Bob describes Jimmy as the truest, staunchest old champ in the world. Then, how did the patrolman know that Bob has been doing well? Because Bob had a handsome watch, and the lids of it set with small diamonds. That shows that Bob has been doing well. When did Bob realize that the man he was talking to was not Jimmy Wells? How did he react? When they passed through the light emanating from the window of a drugstore that is still open, Bob looks at the man he is with and exclaims with certainty that he is not Jimmy Wells. Bob released his arm. In the story, a plainclothes man did the job. What was the job? The job was arresting Bob, option A. Then, while speaking to the policeman on the beat, the man refers to the restaurant. That means, say which restaurant? Big Joe Brady's restaurant. Big Joe Brady's restaurant. Would Bob stand waiting if he knew his friend's profession? No. Wrong statement. No. Now, okay, we have few more extra questions apart from the textbook. Question number 10. Describe the appearance of the policeman on the beat. The policeman moved the street of his duty in a very impressive manner. He had alert eyes and strong figure with a he had alert eyes and strong figure with a proud manner. It made him a fine picture of a guardian of peace. He also kept spinning his stick while doing his duty. Then, what did he keep doing while on his rounds? So, the policeman kept spinning his stick with many intricate and artful movements while doing his duty. Why were the streets devoid of people? The time was 10 o'clock at night. There was chilly gust of wind and it was likely to rain, so the streets were devoid of people. What story did the man standing near the hardware store tell the passing cop? The man standing near the hardware store told about the peculiar appointment with his friend that had made 20 years ago in that venue his passing cop. What used to be there in the place of that shop 20 years ago? There was Big Joe Brady's restaurant was there was there in the place where the sorry Big Joe Brady's restaurant was there in the place of that hardware shop 20 years ago. Now, describe the man awaiting the arrival of his friend. The man had a pale, square jawed face with keen eyes, and there was a little white scar near his right eyebrow. Question number 16. Why did Question is 16. I'm sorry. Question was 16. Why did the friends part ways? The friends parted ways to seek their torture. Then next question we have. When and how did Bob realize that the tall man was not his friend? When Bob and his friend Jimmy Wells came near a drugstore and they came into this glare to gaze upon the other's face, he identified that the tall man was not his friend by the appearance of his nose. Who was the tall man? The tall man was another policeman, another cop sent by his friend patrolman Jimmy Wells. What did he give Bob? He gave Bob a note from patrolman Wells from Jimmy Wells. Now we have 5 marks questions. Sketch the character Bob. Silky Bob is an ambitious person who didn't mind going illegal ways to accumulate wealth. Apparently, we see Bob as a negative character at the end of the story because he was found guilty and was arrested. But when we see that he traveled miles and risked his life to meet his best friend, we realize how loyal and faithful he was. Again, we find him a bit boastful as he was flaunting about his fortune and comparing his luck with Jimmy's luck. Now, Jimmy Wells' character sketch. Jimmy Wells is one of the major characters of the story. He is quite well balanced and is faithful towards his duty and also towards his friend. His physical description and his alertness proved that he shouldered the duty of a police officer very well. He was quite contented with his job, though he was a loyal and loving friend, but for him, his duty comes first. He did not even hesitate to get his best friend Bob arrested. That's about Jimmy Wells. Question number 2. What is the agreement between the two friends? The story is introduced with the first character, a policeman making his rounds on the dark, windy, rainy streets of New York, rattling door knobs as he checks everything is secure on his beat. It's here we meet the second character as the policeman approaches a man standing in a doorway of a hardware store. This character is Bob, and Bob explains his reason as to why he's standing on the street at the time of night. 20 years ago, Bob and his friend Jimmy agreed to meet at that exact spot at 10 o'clock at night at Big Joe Brady's restaurant. No matter what the conditions might be, or from what distance they might have to come, they figured that in 20 years they ought to have their destiny worked out and their fortunes made, whatever they were going to be. As Bob relates his tale, it is come to light that Bob and Jimmy have chosen two different paths in life. Bob moved away from the to the west to seek fortune, while Jimmy chose to stay in the New York City. After hearing Bob's story, the police officer, who noticeably has not been given a name, goes on his way. Third question, discuss Bob as a friend to Jimmy Wells. The story first introduces a friendship theme when Bob attempts to justify his presence to the policeman. Bob talks about his friend with praises that affirm a deeply rooted friendship. He explains, Jimmy Wells, my best chum and the finest chap in the world. Unquote. The compassion and affection that is evident in Bob's tone as he talks about Jimmy show the magnitude of the friendship. He even likens the relationship to that between two brothers who have grown up together. This friendship has brought Bob 1,000 miles from the west to see Jimmy to keep a long standing promise. It is the loyalty to this promise and on a larger scale, the friendship, and that he says, I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight, and it's worth if my old partner turns up. Bob is also certain that his friend will keep the promise and show up. The 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 conviction in his voice that Jimmy will keep the promise as well speaks volumes about the friendship. True to Bob's words, Jimmy shows up a few minutes to the agreed time, only not in the way the men from the West expected. Jimmy is an enthusiastic and committed to this meeting, just like Bob, who furthers this theme of friendship. Next question, how do you characterize Jimmy as a person? What makes him likable? Jimmy Wells is a police officer and Bob's best friend from childhood, since childhood. While Bob decided to move out west to pursue his fortune, Jimmy chose instead to remain in New York and eventually becoming a police officer. He's also no ordinary police officer, but a particularly impressive and respectable one, walking with confidence and swagger and artfully twirling his club. His ability to remain calm while masking his identity to Bob also suggests great emotional and mental intelligence, as well as decades of experience in the law enforcement. Despite having just discovered that his old friend is a wanted man, he does not let on about about his identity, politely inquiring after his friend's life without seeming too suspicious. Furthermore, despite arresting Bob at the end of the story, Jimmy also shows loyalty and affection to his old friend. Though Bob doesn't know it at the time, Jimmy does actually show up on time early, in fact, for the meeting, showing he's every bit as reliable as Bob says he is. So, moreover, out of loyalty to the memory of the relationship, Jimmy also chooses to not to arrest Bob himself. Thus, he respects their friendship as well as they are still fulfilling his duty as a guardian of the peace. Now, comment on the ending of the story, the After 20 Years. The ending of After 20 Years is a classic example of O. Henry's trademark style of unexpected twist endings. The story's climax surprises the reader because the two old friends are about to get cozy and only to discover that one of them is a wanted criminal and the other is a police officer tasked by Bob's actual friend Jimmy with a street, whom Bob had met before the men claiming to be Jimmy arrived, but Bob could not recognize him. However, the actual Jimmy recognized him and also realized that Bob was a criminal and was wanted by the police. The ending leaves a lasting impact as it raises questions about the true nature of the friendship and the complex moral dilemma faced by Jimmy Wells in the course of his duty as a police officer. The ending also highlights the theme of the passage of time and its effects on people, relationship, circumstances. Overall, the ending is both poignant and thought provoking, highlights the other's mastery of storytelling. Now we have here last question. Justify the title of the story after 20 years. After 20 years is indeed a very suitable title because it represents the fleeting nature of time and reunion of the two old friends. Bob and Jimmy have not seen each other for 20 years. This title sets the scene for a story about contemplation, reminiscing, and a trace of sadness as the two friends promise to meet again and consider the changes and events that have occurred in their lives since their last encounter. The title, straightforward yet very much impactful, the title sets the atmosphere for a story that examines the transitory nature of time and its influence on our relationships and lives, reminding us that even though everything changes, some reminders of familiarity always remain between 2 points in time. So, friends, thank you so much. This is how have friends, thank you so much. This is how I have solved these questions, these important lessons questions here. If you have any doubt, you can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. If you like this video, you can click on the like button. If you still like the video, please do subscribe the channel. And for any more questions, you can reach me at the given email ID. Thank you so much once again. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English. This is Mukesh Soni. Friends, in this video we shall have the discussion of the important questions of the famous chapter Our Teacher, written by Masti Venkatesha Iyengar. And this lesson is prescribed for the first semester BA Generic English course under Bangalore University and Bangalore North University BU as well as BNU. And in this video we'll have the discussion of the 2 marks and 5 marks questions with reference to the textbook. So let's begin it. The 2 marks questions. Number 1, who is the narrator of the story? Sitama is the narrator of the story. Whom did the teacher meet when he was going to school? The teacher met Shastri when he was going to school. Why did the teacher go to school late? The teacher was late to school because his wife started saying all kinds of things to the teacher when he told that he could not get salt as he was getting late to the school. How did Saraswati taunt Gauri? Saraswati taunted Gauri that let her study well if she wants to. She doesn't have a squint. Who was the most intelligent girl in the class? That was Gauri. Why did the school inspector appreciate Saraswati? The school inspector appreciated Saraswati because she answered the question, which was question to Gauri about geography, as Gauri did not know the answer. So the school teacher appreciated Gauri because she answered the question about the geography, which Gauri did not know much about it. Then name the kitten brought by Lakshmi to the class. The kitten's name is here Garuda Mari. Garuda Mari is the name of the kitten brought by Lakshmi to the class. Then what did Lakshmi bring for the kitten? Lakshmi brought Tambitu. Tambitu for the kitten. Lakshmi brought Tambitu, Tambitu. Name the two people whom the teacher was afraid of. The teacher was afraid of two people. One his wife and the other one is here his school teacher, school inspector. The teacher was afraid of his wife and the other was school inspector. What made the school inspector furious? Why was he angry? At first one woman went out from the class without permission and the another student had brought a kitten to the class. This made the inspector very furious or angry. Now we shall have the discussion of the 5 marks questions. Question number one. Briefly describe the spat between Lakshmi and a friend on the way to school. Spat means a kind of quarrel, clash. The narrator was in hurry as it was getting late for school. The narrator's friend Lakshmi was also late and almost running on her little feet behind the narrator. Lakshmi was still asleep when the narrator went to call her, and this delayed them. As both of them walked together, they saw the teacher ahead. They slowed down as the teacher himself was late to school and started playing Guchama Nakshatra. They got so engrossed in the game that they did not notice the teacher had gone. The narrator got up and said to her friend that it was late, we have to go, otherwise, the teacher would be angry. But Lakshmi sat there only and started crying for her balapa sticks. Lakshmi lost the game as she did not know how to play and kept wailing. She said, my balapa sticks, my balapa sticks. The narrator tried to convince, but she was not able to do it. At last, the narrator gave back the all chalk pieces she had won. Lakshmi was still standing there and asking for the chalk pieces of the narrator. The narrator protested, but at the end, she gave all the chalk pieces she had. The narrator won the game, but Lakshmi won the chalk pieces. Second question, contrast the characters of Gauri and Saraswati. Gauri and Saraswati were good friends until the inspection day and fell out. The inspector came to the class for inspection. On that day, he asked some questions to both Gauri and Saraswati. At first, he asked a question to Saraswati, but she did not answer. Later, the question was passed to Gauri, and she answered neat and correct. Then he asked another question to Gauri, but she did not answer. Same question was asked to Saraswati, and she answered. So the inspector exclaimed, Shabashi, to Saraswati as she answered the question without studying. Saraswati always taunted Gauri about her squint, about her talent. She thought that beauty was everything. She did not know that we cannot pass an exam by beauty alone. But Gauri knew only to study and would become a good citizen in the society. Briefly describe the school inspector's visit to the class. The narrator explained two incidents of the school inspector's visit to the class. The first visit of the inspector in the previous year, which made to lose the friendship between Gauri and Saraswati. Because Saraswati answered the inspector's questions even without studying, and she was praised by him. And the second incident was when the new inspector visited the class at the time when teacher's wife was also in the classroom. The inspector thought that she would be the pupil, should be the student in the class, and told that she was a mature one, and later he thought that she was Aya. Meanwhile, Lakshmi stood up to sing a song, and the little kitten, Grudamari, was on her lap. The inspector put his hand in search of it, and the kitten scratched the inspector's hand and also Lakshmi's stomach. So these are the two important incidents which describe the visit of inspector to the class. Fourth question, comment on any two humorous situations in the story Our Teacher. In the classroom, on that Thursday, the teacher assigned some work to the students, but all were busy eating snacks like manchuri, chakli, avlakki, which they had brought. Meanwhile, the narrator thought that the teacher was thinking practically about some metaphysical issue or about Rukku Samhite. As soon as the teacher saw his wife in the doorway, he imagined whatever had taken place at home was about to happen in the school. When the teacher and his wife were talking in the classroom, the new inspector entered there and asked him if he was the class teacher. This made the teacher afraid as the inspector had come to classroom for inspection. So these are the two humorous situations in the story. Now the next question we have here, write a note on the school village school teacher. The village school had a heart of a child. The teacher was very innocent and utterly pure. He knew the Shastras and Vedas. He could recite the Raghuvansha and expound on philosophical matters. He was pure and guideless. He could not bear to see anyone suffering. That was the reason he had no money for salt. He was praised as a courageous man because he attacked a cobra by putting a pinch of snuff in a snake's mouth that make the snake giddy and it fell senseless. Even much a courageous soul was terrified. The two things, one was his wife and the other the inspector. In the story, first, by seeing his wife in the school, shaken out of his relaxed posture, he got tensed. Then, when the inspector visited the classroom for inspection, he was in fear and his hands trembled. Now the question was 6. Pick out the tragic elements in the story Our Teacher. On Thursday, the teacher assigned some work to the students, but all were busy eating snacks like manchuri, chakli, avlaki, which they had brought. As soon as the teacher saw his wife in the doorway, he imagined whatever took place at home was about to happen in the school. Teacher teacher calls his wife in a loud voice. Speaking to his wife in loud voice, told her that purchase he did not purchase salt for house which was empty. Meanwhile, the new inspector entered there and asked him, was he the class teacher? This made the teacher afraid as the inspector came to the classroom for inspection. After 3 days of the narrator's marriage, the teacher visited her and he was already blessed her. Then she would get a good husband. Teacher visited the narrator's house and to discuss about his promotion with her husband. He promised to do it. The teacher visited the narrator house for the second time to thank them because he was promoted and also his salary was increased, but he was not happy because he had lost his wife and had leaving behind a girl child and she had a hard time throughout. If she were here today, he would have bought her a new sari. Her love for him was boundless, life-giving kind, and she was utterly guileless. These are the tragic elements in the story, Our Teacher. What makes the story Our Teacher humorous? The teacher situation which takes accidental twists and turns makes the story the teacher situation which takes the accidental twists and turns makes the story humorous. The teacher came to school without telling the reason of not buying a salt. Once he completes the chapter, he assigns some work and sits in his chair. He got shocked when the teacher's wife came to the classroom to ask the reason for not bringing the salt. He asked her he asked her to go home as his reputation would be lowered. But his wife did not hear his words and started asking about the self respect for bringing rice, salt, dal, etc. from another's home. The inspector came, and when the conversation was going on between the teacher and his wife, this made him very much furious. When the inspector asked about her presence in the classroom, the teacher was afraid and started to tell Mahaswami, Mahaswami. So, though these were the situations which were faced by the teacher, somehow he managed the situation. So friends, this is how I have discussed the important questions of the famous lesson, important questions of the famous lesson. Our teacher from the first semester BA Generic English, BU and BNU. If you like the video, click on the like button, share the video, click on the subscribe the channel. And moreover, all the lessons of the first semester BA, the videos are already done. You can find the links in the description box. If you have any questions, you can mail me at the rate of mikeshenglish@gmail.com. Even if you want notes also, you can mail me. I'm going to help you a lot. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I have the discussion of the important questions from the important lesson, Three Great Hearts Resolve a Problem, written by APJ Abdul Kalam. And this lesson is prescribed for the first semester BA Generic English under Bangalore University and Bangalore North University. And these questions are based on the textbook, which is prescribed for your syllabus. And now let's begin the 2 marks questions. Were there communal disputes in Rameshwaram? No, there were no communal disputes in Rameshwaram. What fell into the tank? A vigraha, an idol belonging to Ramnath Swami temple, fell into the tank. Who retrieved idol from the tank? APJ Abdul Kalam's great great grandfather retrieved the idol from the tank. What is Mudul Maryadai? Mudul Maryadai, spelling error. Maryadai means to say respecting someone first on priority before the rest. So here the author's great great grandfather was honored with the first darshan of the Lord. Then who is the Imam of Rameshwaram Mosque? APJ Abdul Kalam's father is the Imam of the Rameshwaram Mosque. Name the priest of Ramnatha Swami temple, Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri. Then, who was involved in the welfare of the church goers? Father Bodal. The three men of Rameshwaram, they used to meet on which day? On Friday evenings. They used to meet on Friday evenings. Who were the best friends of Kalam in his class? Kalam's best friends were Ramaratha Shastri, Arivandan sorry, Aravindan and Shiva Prakasan. Ram Radha Shastri, Aravindan and Shiva Prakasan were the best friends of Kalam in the class. Then Kalam and Ramanathan Shastri shared the same bench in the class. Ramanathan Shastri shared the same bench in the class. Then did Kalam school have uniform for students? Kalam school did not have any uniform for the students. The new teacher sent Kalam to another bench. Is it true? Yes. The three men condemned the teacher very strongly. False. Now we have 5 marks questions. Why did the temple start offering Mudal Maryadai to Kalam's great great grandfather? In the town of Rameshwaram, on a certain festival day, the idol of Ranganatha Swami would be taken out of the sanctum sanctorum and carried around the temple, which had a number of tanks dotting it. The idols would be carried around the periphery of these tanks. During on such procession, the idol fell into the tank. The people stood rooted in shock, imagining the wrath of the gods falling upon them. But Kalam's great great grandfather immediately leaped into the tank and retrieved the idol. The priests and the temple officials expressed their gratitude and proclaimed that henceforth at the festival the temple would give Mudal Maryadai to Kalam's great great grandfather. So this was a rare honor to be bestowed on a Muslim. This tradition continued for many years. So for the darshana, the very first priority is given to Kalam's great and great grandfather, that is called Mudal Maryadai. Describe the three great hearts of Rameshwaram. Kalam's father was the Imam of the Rameshwaram Mosque. He had a ferry business, and the pilgrims were uh, taken to Dhanush Dhanush heads. Dhanush heads. He was a devout man who inculcated all habits of good Muslim in children. He was a philosopher and guide for the inhabitants of the town. His closest friends were Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, the priest of Ramnatha Swami temple, and he was well versed in Vedic knowledge. Father Bodal was a priest of the lone church in the town. So Kalam's father, Imam, then afterwards, Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, the priest of Ramnatha Swami temple, Father Bodal, the church of the town, the priest of the church. So these are the three persons they were regarded as the great hearts of Rameshwaram. How did the three men manage to maintain harmony in Rameshwaram? So these three persons, how did they maintain the harmony in Rameshwaram? The three great hearts of Rameshwaram are Kalam's father, the Imam of the Imam of Rameshwaram Mosque, Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, the priest of Ramnatha Swami Temple, Father Bodal, the priest of the lone church in the town, were very good friends and met. They used to meet on every Friday evening. So these three learned men were concerned about the need for harmony and peace in Rameshwaram. They used to discuss the matters of religion and the happenings of the town. Sometimes people came to visit them at that time with specific issues to be resolved, or they kept each other appraised of anything that could threaten the peace among the people. Together, they tried to work out ways of clearing miscommunication or scorching rumors between before they assumed dangerous proportions. The fundamental requirement for the peace effective communication among sections of the people was always kept alive by these three patriarchs. Now, the fourth question: what did the teacher do in the class that hurt Kalam and his friend? When Kalam was in the third standard, there was a great excitement as a new teacher had joined the school. The students were curious regarding the teacher's temperament, whether he would be strict or lenient, quick tempered or patient. The teacher was a Hindu and especially a Brahmin. As soon as he entered the class, he cast a quick appraising eye over the students. He started to glance everybody, started to observe everyone. He saw the students' attires and walked in front of the class. His eyes fell on Kalam's cap and Ramdhan's tuft. A look of annoyance and disbelief washed over his face. Without giving any reason, he demanded to know his name. Then he was he was told to gather his things and move the move to the back row. So he sent Kalam to stand up and change your place, go to the last bench. So Kalam was told to sit separately. The narrator felt sad and humiliated, and his friend had tears in his eyes. This act of the teacher hurt Kalam and his friend. Why did the three men summon the teacher, and how did they resolve the situation? The new teacher had made Kalam gather his things and move to the back row, the last bench. He was annoyed to see a Hindu boy and a Muslim boy sitting together in the same row. The boys had told their fathers about the humiliating experience in the school. So the next Friday evening, the three men summoned the teacher. They told the teacher in no uncertain terms that the afflictions of religious divisions which was causing disturbance in other parts of the country would not be allowed to grow here. They would not allow children to be segregated and certainly not tolerate anyone who made religion a divisive factor instead of being inclusive, and they would not let this infect the minds of the youngest members of the society. The teacher acknowledged his errors and promised to amend the wrong he had done. He kept his vows. Thus, the three men resolved the matter firmly and openly. Question number 6. Comment on the Hindus' acceptance of Kalam's great great grandfather's help of retrieving the idol from the tank. On a certain festival day, the idol of Sri Ramnatha Swami would be taken out of Sanctum Sanctorum and carried out on a procession around the temple precincts, including the periphery of the number of tanks dotting it. During one such process in a sequence of events, the idol fell into the tank. People stood rooted in horror, imagining the wrath of the gods falling upon them very soon. But Kalam's great great grandfather did not lose his presence of mind. He immediately leaped into the tank and retrieved the idol. The gratitude of the priest and the other temple officials was overwhelming. Though the great great grandfather was a Muslim, they did not let it affect them and instead treated him like a hero. The temple also made a proclamation that from now on, at the festival, the temple would give Mudal Maryadai to Kalam's great great grandfather. This was a rare honor for anyone, let alone for someone from a different religion. It meant that on each such festival day, the temple would first honor his great great grandfather. This tradition went on for years, and the honor was bestowed on his father too. Last question. Explain how the three great hearts were very religious and also socially responsible. The three great hearts were Kalam's father, who was the Imam of the Rameshwar Mosque, the priest of Ramnath Swami Temple, Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri, and Father Bodal, the priest of the Lone Church in the town. The Imam had a fairy business in which pilgrims were taken to Dhanushkodi. He was deeply devout man with complete and utter faith in Quran and inculcated all the habits of good Muslim in his children. Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri was also a learned man, well versed in Vedic knowledge. Father Bodal was involved in the welfare of the churchgoers of Rameshwaram. These men met every Friday evening and discussed matter of religion and happenings of the town. Sometimes people came to visit them at that time with specific issues to be resolved or kept each other appraised of anything that could potentially threaten the peace among the people and together. Together they tried to work out the ways of clearing miscommunication or any scorching rumors before they assumed it can take a dangerous note. The fundamental requirement for peace was effective communication. So their discussion ranged over the topics like freedom movement, attitude of the British government to the cause of the nationalists, and how this in turn was affecting individuals across the country. They quietly soothed the society around them and making it harmonious whole, where everyone could have an opportunity to speak freely to them. So now we have last question, discuss the act of the teacher from his point of view and his reformation. When Kalam was in the third standard, a new teacher joined the school. The students were excited and eagerly waiting for the entry of the teacher. The teacher was Hindu, a Brahmin, and as soon as he entered the classroom, he observed everybody and he started to observe the attire of everyone. And finally, when he just observed that one boy, that is Kalam, who was a Muslim, was seated with a Hindu boy, immediately he told Kalam to take all his pen, pencil, bag and sit in the last bench, and in this manner Kalam was humiliated and Ramnathan had tears in his eyes. So both the boys, they told this incident to their fathers, and the very next Friday evening, these fathers of these fathers, they told this incident to those three people, and to those three great hearts. These three great hearts, they called up the teacher and they told this teacher that nobody in this village, in this town, had the authority to bring the disharmony among the people, and no one had ever taught him otherwise or made him see the futility of such divisions. And finally the teacher promised to rectify the wrong he had done the very next day, and he did so. Thus the teacher explained about his act from his point of view. So friends, thank you so much, and this is how I have tried to solve the most important lesson. Three great hearts resolve a problem by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. If you like the video, click on the like button, subscribe the channel. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Thank you so much. For all the other videos, you can have a look in the description box. All the links of all the other videos you'll get here, or you can go through the playlist on my channel. Thank you once again. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.